You don't need finished objects to be excited about knitting, right? I sew down one, no, I didn't sew down this one. If I just randomly pull out stuff from me, that's because I'm shedding. I love them. Do you want me to hold your yarn for you so that it stops falling? And I was like, yes, please. Can you see how perfect this is? Hi, my name is Maya and welcome to episode 61 of my knitting podcast, where I share all my thoughts, process and other random stuff about all things fiber related, but mostly knitting. Today is the 10th of September 2025 and I'm coming to you from the French-speaking part of Switzerland, where I live with my gecko. Today I have, as I just said, a podcast episode for you because I have a ton of stuff to talk to you about. I know I said last week I would not have enough stuff to talk about to make a whole new podcast episode, but something happened and yeah, it's intense. So I have a ton of stuff to share. So I have a lot of progress on my current only whip. I mean, not only, but it used to be my only whip for the whole week. Anyway, I have a lot of progress on that. And I have a new cast on, but I have only swatched for it, for them, because I have a ton of swatches. And I have lots of acquisitions because it's linked to the thing that happened. And it's super exciting, but I'm gonna talk about that at the end. And I don't have any finished objects, but it doesn't matter because you don't need finished objects to be excited about knitting, right? Alright, but before we start, let's talk about what I'm wearing, which you almost cannot see because it's kind of the same color as my skin. But it's just a little camisole kind of thing. It's very, very basic and it's self-drafted and there is no pattern for it, sorry. But it's mega basic. It's just like this kind of shape on the front where I didn't do increases, I did short rows because I love short rows. And then it has a double-sided edge all around, also on the back. The back is straight. There is not this thing on the back. And I got straps and the body is completely straight and I did a normal bind off at the bottom. Really the most basic camisole ever. And it's knit using Knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the colorway Rhubarb Juice, I think. And I don't wear it a lot because I had the fantastic idea of shortening the straps by inserting a thread in the I-cord strap because they were a bit too long, they stretched out. However, I don't know what got to me, but instead of inserting an elastic in the strap, I inserted a thread of the actual yarn, which doesn't have any stretch, which means the strap is super, like, not stretchy at all, and it's very uncomfortable to wear because now it's a little bit too high and it cuts here under my arm, not in the armpit but in the lats here, and it's just uncomfortable and I don't know why I did that. And I have elastics and I know when I inserted the elastics in this one, I mean when I inserted the thread in this one, I inserted an elastic in another camisole at the same time, and I have no idea why I didn't put elastics in this one as well. I guess I just wanted to see what would happen, and what a surprise, it wasn't a good idea. So yeah, I don't wear it. I should just swap the thread for an elastic, but I don't do it because I'm also not really a fan of the color. I think it's a little bit too close. I mean, it almost looks like I'm naked. So yeah, anyway, I just don't really wear it. I love the yarn though, so I will either frog it to make something else or just get myself another color of this yarn to make another summer top that I will actually wear. And I used the leftovers to make a bow, one of those. And since I had a lot of leftovers, the bow is comically big. And I don't wear it because it's too big. Yes, it's the Augustine number 22, by the way. And that's it for what I'm wearing. So, let's talk about what you're all here for, which is my current work in progress. I have hair everywhere. I don't know about you, but every year, once a year, for me it's around beginning of fall, so like September, October, I shed my hair and I lose so many hair, and I just entered the shedding season and it's they are also very long, and my hair are absolutely everywhere. So if I just randomly pull out stuff from me, that's because I'm shedding. Anyway, let's talk about my work in progress, which is the Shady Hoodie. It doesn't look like much, but I did a ton of progress on it. Maybe I should get a hanger to show you. But if I hold the neckline correctly, yeah, you can see a tiny bit better. So I finished the body, I finished a whole sleeve, and I added the pockets. I sewed down one, I know, I didn't sew down this one, but the other one I did. Here. The pocket is closed on this side. And I have one sleeve and half of the hood left to do. So I'm almost done with that. And I'm so happy. It's just going so well. It's looking so good. I'm so excited. But I have so many things to say. I will just try to stick to my notes so that I don't forget anything. So the yarn I'm using is Nightshades by Harrisville Designs in the colorway Fever Dreams. So it's a black yarn heathered with red speckles, not speckles, but red. It's heathered with red. It's gorgeous. I really love it. The yarn is super soft. It's very rustic and has a lot of texture, but it's not itchy at all. And this is only steam blocked, by the way. So it is going to soften even more with the actual washing. However, so I unraveled my first sample, first half whip, and I have started knitting with the yarn, and you cannot really see a difference. So I switched to the unraveled yarn that had been blocked once, somewhere in the middle of the body. Even before the steam blocking, you couldn't really tell, but somewhere around here, I switched from a new yarn to a blocked yarn, and no difference. I didn't block the yarn before, reusing it, but I did steam the cake. So this is unraveled yarn, and I steamed I put my not my steamer, but the iron with the steam function on top of it, and I just steam over the bowl to remove the kink from the outside. And it's brand as new. And the steam doesn't go to the inside of the bowl, but I was too lazy to re-steam the bowl when I got to the kinky part. And it wasn't that kinky anymore. And it didn't make a single difference, even before blocking, so that's cool. Because there are some yarns, like I have in mind like a top where I modified the bottom hem and I just lengthened it a little bit, and I used yarn that I unraveled, and I did steam it the same way. And even after blocking, you can still see the difference. It's still kind of a little bit wavy and just not as smooth as the rest of the fabric. But this yarn doesn't do that. Even if you don't block the yarn after unraveling a blocked fabric with it, it doesn't show in the new knit fabric, which is great. Anyway, I used a 4mm needle for the whole thing. I don't think I used, no, even for the bottom hem, I used the same needle, so 4mm throughout. And there's something I wanted to say. Oh yes, I wanted to show you the sketch of the idea, because this is a bit difficult to understand. So the idea is to have a hood with the hem detail that's going to go from the bottom of the hem all the way around the hood and then to the other side again in a continuous line. I haven't done this detail yet because it's going to be the last one I can do, because I need everything else to be finished before I can add this detail. But I can talk to you about everything else I did up until now. So let's start with the sleeve. I'm going to have to try it on to show you, but I finished the first sleeve, and I think I'm going to have to redo the second half because I think it's a little bit too long. And oh my god. And I did a little bit too many decreases. So here is where we're at. If I stand up to show you. So the sleeve is kind of already at the right length, and it's not even blocked yet. And I know this yarn does relax a little bit with blocking, and it is going to get longer. How can I show you this? It's going to be too long if it relaxes. It's already kind of at the perfect length, and yeah, it's gonna get too long. I only steam blocked until here because I'm gonna unravel the second half, because also it's a bit too tight. Here it's fine, I have enough room, but here I have zero ease. Again, it's also because my forearms are massive compared to my bust and my biceps, so I have zero ease here, which I'm not a fan of. So for you it's not going to be this tight, but I still think I could do less decreases. I decrease 2 stitches every 10 rows up until here, and then I switch to decreasing 2 stitches every 8 rows for the forearm, and I think that was too much. So I'm gonna unravel until here and continue with decreasing every 10 rows until the cuff, and also remove a little bit of length because it's a bit too long. And I think I'm gonna get 4 extra stitches here at the cuff, and I think it's gonna be perfect. So I just need to redo that, and then the sleeve will be perfect. But the sleeve goes super mega fast because it's in the round, and I just need very fast in the round. But the rest is going a little bit slower because it's flat. However, I have a hair on my arm. I have finished the body. So the length, I wanted it to be like not cropped, but not too long either, because basically I want this to be covering my back neck, not back neck, what? My lower back, even if I bend over. So we are covered, so this is good. And again, it's gonna relax a little bit with blocking, and if I mean like this, it's falling quite a nice length, I think. And if I close it, I made it so that it's gonna sit slightly on top of my hips, my high hips here. I have... This is making noise. Because it's like fitted to my high hips, so that it can stand a little bit higher at a nicer length. Because if closed, this is not a good length, but if closed, this is cute, I think. So that's what I'm aiming for. And the pocket is, no, it's not this one. The pocket is here. And I think it's a little bit too small. Like my hand is open here, and it's kind of not completely inside. And my hands are completely average. They are not big, they are not small. And it's okay to put it in, but I think if your hand is ever so slightly bigger than mine, it's going to be a little bit difficult to put it in. So I'm gonna make the pocket slightly bigger in the pattern, but I'm not gonna redo mine because it's not a problem for me. And also for the look, I think it would just look a little bit better if the pockets were slightly bigger. And I don't know if you can tell, but I did. So the bottom hem is in seed stitch, and I did the seed stitch also around the pocket here. And I think it's so cute. I'm just so happy about this detail. And the pockets are made kind of as you go, but not really. So basically you knit the body flat. And when you get to this height, you cast on stitches, like knit one, yarn over, knit one, yarn over. And on the return row, you put all the yarn over stitches on hold. And that way the stitches are already there ready for you. And when you get to the bottom hem here, you leave the stitches on hold and you get back to here, and you knit the pocket with the increases here. And when the pocket is the same length as the body, you do the other one. And then you knit the final row of the body by knitting together one stitch of the pocket with one stitch of the body, and the pocket is placed. And you don't have to count stitches and try to have it be aligned or whatever. Everything is in there, just follow the instructions and the pocket will be placed perfectly. It's super neat. And then the last thing you have to do is just to sew down the edge here and this little piece here. I love it. And then I started the hood. It's back here. I did like this much. I'm just gonna take this off to show you. Here in the middle, you have 2 columns of increases, because I want the hood to be absolutely ginormous. Because I have a lot of hair, and if my hair are up in a ponytail or in a bun, most of the time I cannot put the hood on top of that because it's already too big, but also I have headphones. And if I have like a bun and headphones, it's like absolutely nothing can cover my head, which is a shame because I love wearing hoods. So I'm trying to make the hood big enough to go over a huge bun and headphones. So it's going to be massive. And I'm still not done with the increases. And they are going to be on each side here, the width of the hem, the detail that's going to go all the way around the whole button band and hood, which is going to add width here. So it's going to be very, very wide. The way I graded it kind of is so that it has 65 centimeters circumference around the widest part. I just grabbed this. So 65 centimeters is this long. So it's going to go like this around the head. So it's very big. But if I grab my headphones and I put this around, it's like big, but now imagine I have the bun on top of that. It's not that big, so I hope it will work out. I think if anything, it might be not big enough, but it's already massive. So worst case scenario, I'm just gonna do more increases. I mean, I don't need to redo the whole thing. I can just do more increases here. I don't need to change anything to the bottom. And I just hope it will work out. A small detail of shaping that I had to do is that when you wear the thing, the shoulder here, the shoulder here is at this level, but the hood is connected until the front here, which is a lot lower than this, as you can see, about 5 centimeters, so 2 inches. And if you don't do anything, and you just pick up for the hood around here, and then you just start knitting straight, you're gonna have 5 centimeters that missing here, and when you finish the hood, this part, the kind of front cap, is gonna get pulled down by this, because there is this height difference here, which I didn't want. I mean, it can be nice because it can like pull the hood like this and avoid it falling back, but it's also gonna make it smaller, which I don't want. So I did short rows here. Like you pick up all the stitches and then you do little short rows until you are level with this part with the shoulder here. And hopefully it's also gonna help because sometimes when you have a big hood like that and it's down, it can pull very hard on the front of the fabric because it's connected to here. So if you have a bit more length, it means that the hood can rest on your shoulders before it starts pulling on this, which is gonna help it not pull the whole cardigan to the back. Because I have searched a few like hoodie designs over on Instagram and Ravelry, and the one I found with very big hood, people mentioned that the whole thing is getting pulled back by the weight of the hood, and I really wanted to avoid that. And someone also mentioned that in a comment in the last video. So I'm really trying to be very careful about that, and the way the shaping is done here, I'm trying my best to like how do you say répartir? Répartir le poids of the hood in a very uniform way so that you don't have extra tension on one point, especially on the front, that's going to pull the whole thing. So I'm trying to be very careful about the shaping so that it works well for all the sizes. And hopefully I've done my job well, but we will see when it's done. Maybe it's not going to work at all, but I try my best. Anyway, after the hood, the next thing I'm going to do is the button band on the front. So basically the idea is to pick up from, can you say that? The join, so the hood, you start the pickup here and it goes to the back, and then you're going to start the pickup of the button band at the point where the hood is connected until the bottom here. But the front is shaped like a V-neck, so you have this shape until here and then go straight. And I had a big question as to how I was going to fill this gap, because usually when you work like a double knit button band, it's like the same width around. But I wanted to fill this so that I have a round neck or a straight neck, but V-neck filled up, so I need 2 triangles here. And I wasn't sure if you could do increases in double knitting, because I had kind of never heard about that. So I figured if I had never heard about that, it was probably because it was difficult to do. Absolutely not. It's super easy. And not even is it easy, but it also looks like a ton of fun, and I really want to do it now. Which is wild because I kind of went from dreading the button band and not knowing what to do to I'm super excited and I want to make them right away. So I had to stop myself from doing the button band to do the hood first because this was more not important but more uncertain. So once I'm done with the hood, I'm going to start the button band and I'm super excited to do increases in double knitting. It's just so easy. It's just like, yes, of course. Why didn't I think of it before? Yeah, anyway, I can't wait. Another reason I didn't want to do the button band first is because I'm not 100% sure about the body length, because there is a world in which if I block it, it's gonna stretch out a bit too much and it's gonna be a bit too long. So I don't want to put the button band in before I do a mid block, so that if it's too long, I can like cut off the bottom above the pockets and the pocket and unravel a little bit and then graft it back together with like this much length. And if the button band is there, I cannot do that anymore. And it's double knitting, and as funny as it sounds, I don't want to have to do it 4 times or even 3 times. So I'm just gonna finish the hood, finish the hood, redo the second half of the sleeve, give it a good wet block, assess the fit, and then if it's okay, add the button band. And if it's not, I'm gonna do a little bit of surgery to make the body a little bit shorter. And then I can finally do the star of the show, the pièce de résistance, the hem detail that's gonna go around the whole thing in seed stitch again. And it's kind of nerve-wracking that I have to wait until the very end to do this detail, which is kind of the main selling point, but it is how it is. I wanted to talk about the yarn because first, it has a ton of VM, like vegetable matter, tiny bits of hay in it because it's very rustic, and there's just a lot of hay left in it, which is kind of normal, but it's like next level. If you have ever knit with Nutiden, there is almost as much VM in this than in unspun yarn, which says a lot about how natural this is, which is great. But the other thing is that it is, as I mentioned, very, very rustic, and it's also extremely sticky. And I didn't realize it, but someone commented on Instagram, I think, asking for tips on how to knit tightly with this, because they are a tight knitter. And even using the same needle size as I am, so 4 millimeters, I think it's US 6, they couldn't get a gauge any tighter than like 16 stitches, and I have 19 stitches with the same needle as them. And they were just asking for tips on how to tighten the gauge, and I was like, I don't really know because I'm not a loose knitter, so I don't know what you're going through. But my best take on this is that with this type of yarn, which is very sticky, there is kind of a learning curve, just as, for example, you have a learning curve for unspun yarns that I just mentioned. So unspun yarns, they break very easily, so you have to learn to knit with them, to be gentle, to not pull too hard when you tension, and to like not split, but go into the strand with your needle because the strand is not plied, so it's very, very easy to just go through the strand. And it takes a little while to get used to it. And with this, it's a little bit of the same. If you're used to like superwash yarns that are very smooth and glide over the needles and glide over themselves in general, this is going to feel very weird because you kind of have to fight it to form your stitches, because like when you form a stitch, the yarn will kind of stick to a certain shape, and if you want to tighten the stitch into the correct tension, you really need to pull hard to like go past the stickiness of the yarn. So it is a little bit harder on the hands than a normal like superwash yarn, and I don't think it's a problem in itself. It's just a learning curve. Just as you have to learn to be gentle with unspun yarn, you have to learn to be a little bit more aggressive with this type of sticky yarn, I think. I can show you my swatches again because those 2 swatches were made on the same needles. As you can tell, one of them is huge. There is a little bit less stitches in this one, but not that much. And they were both made with 4.5 millimeters. This is 16 stitches, this is 18 stitches. same needles, same everything. It's just that with this one, I wasn't tensioning the yarn the way you should with this type of sticky yarn, but with this swatch, I kind of switched the way I knit and I started tensioning a little bit harder and I got the correct tension. Just a note, just a FYI, just a heads up. This is my favorite yarn, but I still want to be honest with you that if you are a very loose knitter and you're not ready to learn to knit a little bit differently, you're probably not going to go far with this one. And I would like also to mention that even if I am hitting 19 stitches with 4mm needles and you are a loose knitter and you need to go down to like 2.5mm to hit the same gauge as me, it doesn't matter what needle size you are using, you will still knit at the exact same speed as me, because what determines the speed of knitting is the size of the stitches in themselves and not the needle you're using. So if we have the same gauge, but we are not using the same needle size, it doesn't make a difference at all. So if you're a loose knitter, but you have to go down like 4 needle sizes compared to me to hit this gauge, it's okay. There is no difference. If anything, it's going to be easier to maneuver and manipulate the stitches because the needle is going to be thinner, so it's going to go more easily into the stitches. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say about this. So let me talk to you about the army of swatches I did, but first I need to introduce the whole story with what happened last week, which is the main point of why I did the podcast today, because I have too many things to say. So I told you during last week's podcast that I was going to go on Friday, visit a brand new yarn shop in a small town around me, not near me, but around where I live. And I didn't know about this about this yarn shop, but I was super excited to see it. So the name of the yarn shop is Douce Broderie, which means soft embroidery, but not soft, like softly sweet. It's kind of this vibe, like sweet embroidery, I would say. I don't know, something like that, whatever. And the owner, Sandy, she contacted me on Instagram. Actually, I don't know if it's Sandy or Sandy. In French, it would be Sandy. So let's say Sandy. She contacted me on Instagram asking if I would like to do a collab with a brand new yarn shop. And I was like, yes, of course. So I showed up on Friday and I had zero expectations because I didn't want it to, like, if nothing happened, if we couldn't find anything that worked for both of us or any reason, I didn't want it to be disappointed. And at the same time, if something did happen, there was no point in trying to like think beforehand what could happen because it was going to happen anyway. And yeah, I just tried to not think about it too much. So I went with zero expectations and wow. I was not expecting that, of course, but I could never have expected that. So the reason I went there was for a collab on a pattern. And her idea was to have a small design, like an accessory thing, go out at the very beginning of December so that she could have kits for it and sell them for December so that people can either make them as gifts or just for themselves. But yeah, something small that you can easily have kits for. And it was perfect because I had planned for a good while to put out a mitten pattern at the beginning of December. Because if you remembered, when I did my first handspun projects at the end of spring, I think, something like that. Yeah, end of spring. My plan for this first handspun fiber was to make a pair of mittens because I didn't have enough yarn to do anything bigger. And yeah, I just had an idea of mittens I wanted to do and this yarn was perfect. So I had planned to do this mitten pattern for the beginning of December, so we decided to do the collab on that, which was also great for me because I knew I would need anyway to find a commercial yarn that's available for everyone to substitute my handspun in the pattern because I couldn't just put out a pattern like, use your handspun. So I needed something commercial to go with it and to do another sample in. So that was the first idea. And she also had a few, how do you say that, constraints on how the pattern would be made because since she wanted to do kits, she also wanted the kits to be targeted towards beginner because people who buy kits are usually people who don't have any knitting supplies at all, so no needle, no darning needle, no stitch markers, no stitch holders, whatever, nothing. So the pattern would need to be pretty beginner friendly, which none of my patterns are. If you have never knit before, just don't start with my patterns. They are not made for that. And she also, if possible, would prefer if the pattern used only one needle size, because since it's a kit, you don't have to include 2 needle sizes in the kit, and it just makes the kit a lot cheaper, which is a lot more accessible to beginners who don't necessarily want to put too much money in something they're trying for the first time, obviously. And those were actually pretty funny constraints for me, because constraints can really fuel the imagination and the inspiration. At least for me it does. And immediately I was like, yeah, of course we can do 2 versions, because my idea was to make half fisherman's rib for the mittens. And I was like, oh yeah, it would be super cool to have like a half fisherman's rib version and a ribbed version, because ribbing is much more easier for beginners. And then to use only one needle size, you can have the cuff and then do increases to get to the past this point to the hand that's wider than the cuff, without having to change the needle size. And I was like immediately thinking about 10 different ways we could do the increases to incorporate them into the ribbing pattern. So yeah, I was happy about those constraints. And then she was like, okay, so you can choose some yarn in the shop. And I was like, yes, so I can just choose what I want? And she was like, yeah, choose whatever. So I went around the shop, and that was epic, because the morning, so I came on Friday afternoon, and Friday morning she received a huge delivery from Drops, because she bought some stock for her shop, and she had like 10 huge boxes. And when I say huge boxes, I say huge boxes, like they were this high and big like this, and yeah, huge boxes. And there were 10 of them, and we opened all of them so that we could see all the yarn inside and see all the colorways, so that I could pick the yarn that would be perfect for the mittens. So we were going through the whole 10 boxes like that and just shuffling the yarn around and trying to find what was at the bottom of the boxes. It was just being like in the candy shop. It was incredible. So much yarn, so many fluff, so many everything. And there was also the yarn in the shop in itself. Yeah, it was really fun. It was a nice experience. And so we decided to go with, so this is the first option. And the second option is already wound up. I'm so excited. And my handspun version is here, so already caked up. So let me tell you about the yarns. My yarn is pretty thick. It's like it's handspun, and it's my first handspun, so it goes from anywhere to fingering. Here, it's a very thin. I lost it. Here. This one is very, very thin. Is it focusing? Super thin, mega thick. It's handspun, and it's my first one, so of course it's like that. But overall, it knits up at kind of a heavy worsted iron gauge, kind of. This is kind of a better representation of what it looks like. And the other color is slightly thicker, but it's also kind of the same vibe. But we thought it would be nice to have also a thinner option. So there would be 2 gauges in the pattern. So 2 types of fabric, half fisherman's rib for this one, and the DK for the beginner-friendly option, and then 2 thickness, the heavy worsted iron and the DK. So this is supposed to be for the heavy worsted iron. So this is Drops Fiesta. It's so cool, DK weight so cool. I mean DK weight. It says you can also knit it at a fingering weight gauge, but this looks like a DK to me. I guess for socks you can go really, really tight on the gauge, but whatever. Held with brushed alpaca silk, and those 2 colors are just amazing. It's just, I love them. So this is the colorway, what, 14? I think it's called Rainbow Sprinkles. And this one is the colorway 34. I think it's, I forgot the name. But held together, you have this fabric, which is so gorgeous. And the gauge is very similar to my handspun gauge. So let me show you the other 2 swatches. So this is the half fisherman's rib and this is also half fisherman's rib. And if I put them on top of the other, you cannot really tell, but the size is very similar. It's the same number of stitches. So yeah, they are the same gauge, which is very nice. And this one is the ribbing sample. And again, the gauge is the same. So that's for the worsted weight, heavy worsted iron weight sample. And then this one is those two. And this is BC Garn Loch Lomond. I don't know. It's a non-superwash, also DK weight, but I wanted to do a striped version, because my original idea is to do stripes. So this is 1 color heavy worsted, iron weight, 2 color DK weight, and 2 color heavy worsted iron weight. And maybe if I have enough yarn, I can do a unicolor DK weight. Who knows? But yeah. So those are my swatches. I'm so excited. So let me explain where the idea came from. Because basically, with hand spinning or hand spun yarn, the gauge is, the thread is pretty uneven, and brioche fabric and half fisherman's rib fabric are pretty forgiving if you have different thicknesses between each thread, if you have 2 color brioche or 2 color half fisherman's rib. And it's also pretty forgiving if you have unevenness in the threads in the whole fabric. So it's just good for hand-spun yarns. So that's why I wanted to use half fisherman's rib. And by the way, I just wanted to mention that half fisherman's rib or fisherman's rib and brioche are exactly the same thing. The only difference is the way to get there. It's just the technique, but the final fabric is exactly the same thing. So brioche is the method where you do the yarn over, so you slip one with a yarn over, and fisherman's rib is when you knit into the stitch below. But the result is exactly the same. When you knit into the stitch below, the stitch that's on top unravels and it transforms into a yarn over. Same thing. And if you don't believe me, I have a project, I think it's the Inclination Scowl by Andrea Maury. It's written as half fisherman's rib, so you're supposed to knit into the stitch below, but I couldn't get into the rhythm for the life of me. I just kept on doing mistakes. I was purling instead of going into the stitch below, whatever. I was just doing so many mistakes, it was impossible. So in the middle of the project, I switched to half brioche, so doing the yarn overs instead of going into the stitch below. There is absolutely no difference. You cannot, I cannot even find again where I switched from one method to the other, because it's the same thing. I guess for some people you're probably going to have a gauge difference, but for me there wasn't, and exactly the same thing. So if I say brioche or fisherman's or half brioche, half fisherman's, I'm just mixing them up because it's just the same thing. Anyway, so I wanted to use this technique because it's very forgiving with hand-spun yarn, and also because I like it. And I went on Ravelry and I tried so hard to find a mitten pattern in half fisherman's or half brioche texture, but it doesn't exist. I couldn't find a single one. I don't know if I broke Ravelry or if it's not like they don't have the correct tags in the pattern or what, but if I put mitten and half fisherman's rib or brioche, there is just nothing. You can only find ribbing or patterns that are not all over half brioche. It's only a part, a little section, like a little decoration on the back or whatever, but not all over this texture. I just couldn't find anything. And I was like, I'm a designer. I'm just going to design that myself. So that was the main selling point of designing a mitten in half brioche stitch. And then I started thinking about what were the characteristics of half brioche, like the general characteristics of the fabric. And one of the things is that when you increase, you have to increase by increments of 2 stitches because it's ribbing, and if you don't, then the stitch gets offset and it's a little bit difficult to maintain the pattern. So if you increase by 2 stitches, the pattern is still maintained on the next row and it's very easy to stay in pattern. And when you do mittens, usually when you increase for the thumb, you increase on this side and on the back. Usually it's around like every 3 rows or something, 3 rounds. But with half brioche, since you increase 2 stitches at a time, if you increase on both the inside and the outside of the hand, you're going to increase way too much. So you should increase only on one side. And if you stack the increases on one side, you get a nice arch detail that's going to follow exactly the shape of the palm, which I think it looks really nice. So that was my idea, to have all the increases be only on one side, because you increase twice as fast in this type of fabric, and have them follow the shape of the palm. And there is actually a pattern that looks like that by Pearl Soho, but it's fingering weight. But they are called the arch gusset mittens or something like that. And you have this shape here, and I just think it looks super cool. And I just wanted to do that, mostly because it was driven by the characteristics of the fabric. So that was my idea. And if I show you my swatch here, so this one, I haven't cut the yarn because I'm going to unravel the swatch for very obvious reasons, because this yarn is super precious. So this is the right side. And I have tried doing the stacked increases here. And I also did decreases because I didn't want the swatch to be too wide. But yeah, if you just look at this, this is what the arch is going to look like on the, no, not this side, on the palm, like this. And then I just tried another method. So here I increased in the knit column, and here I increased in the purl column, and I just prefer this one, but I just wanted to try. So this is what it's going to look like in half brioche or half fisherman's rib. And here in ribbing, I tried doing the same detail. So it's in this direction. So you have the, no, it's here. This is the right side. So you have the increases here that are happening every, in ribbing I did them every row. So it's the same. Instead of increasing 2 stitches on every right side row, you increase 1 stitch on every right side row and 1 stitch on every wrong side row. It's gonna knit in the round, but you get what I mean. So you have the same increase rate here, and then I also did decreases here just because I didn't want the swatch to be too big. But you can already see the shape of the hand like this. You can see the shape of the hand, it's here. It's so cute. I'm so happy. So yes, this is the ribbing version, and then the ribbing unicolor version, and then the ribbing 2-color version. So it's micro stripes, so it's the same detail. So you have the increases here, and then I did decreases here because whatever. And again, you can see the shape of the hand like that, kind of. And actually, I realized that my swatch was almost the correct size, because if I have it like this, it actually almost looks like a mitten. Can you see how perfect this is? I'm so excited, and it's just so cute. I can show you also with the other ones. So this one is gonna look like this. So with the arch on the palm. And this one is going to be a bit more difficult because there is a lot more happening in the same swatch. But yeah, it can look kind of like this. Just ignore the top part. Can you see how beautiful this is? Ooh, I'm so excited. So yes, this is the mitten pattern. I don't have a name yet for it, but it's going to be awesome. And so those are untouched because I have been knitting with the other two, which are here. And this is something else that Sandy gifted to me. And it was just so handy because this yarn, the brushed alpaca, it like sticks to itself. And if you just knit from it like this, you pull on the thread and kind of the whole ball comes with it, and it always falls on the floor, and it's super annoying. And either on the couch, you have to get up from the couch to go and get it on the floor, or if I'm at my desk, it just rolls under the desk and I have to crawl to get back. And it's just, my life is just crawling on the floor trying to get my balls of yarn back. But this is just so good. It's super basic. It's just a dowel that spins, and you just pop your yarn onto it, and then it unwinds the yarn. And it's so smooth and it's so easy. It has like zero resistance at all. And I have been using it for a while already, since I got it last Friday. And I haven't found a way to make it fail. Because usually those types of gadgets, like it works well in the advertisement, and when you get it, it's absolutely crap and it absolutely doesn't work, and it always gets stuck and there is something underneath and it doesn't spin anymore, and then it gets tangled. I haven't found a way to make it fail yet. it doesn't get tangled, it always spins, nothing gets stuck or whatever, and it's just great. And the best part is that it's manufactured locally, so it has been developed by the owner of the shop, so Sandy, and there is Douce Broderie, so the name of the shop that's written here. So she developed it, she designed it, and she knows someone who has like manufactures 3D printed stuff, objects, and they are 3D printed locally by this person that she knows. And that's even better. This is 100% local to me. It's so great. So she gifted me this, and I'm just so happy because when she contacted me on Instagram, I of course went to see the Instagram account and I saw this and I was like, oh my god, this looks so great. And I really wanted to get one, but I'm totally broke. As you may know, I'm unemployed and I just don't have any spare money. And as much as this looked awesome, I just couldn't afford it. So I was like, one day, if I have the funds, I'm definitely gonna buy one. Because I've been wanting to get like a yarn ball or something, but I could never really find one that wasn't too like bulky and clunky, and it just takes too much space. And I have heard that it doesn't even work because if the skin is in this shape, you still need to pull from the center because otherwise it just jumps out of the ball because it's not round. And even if it's round, it's not guaranteed that it's not going to jump out of the ball, which kind of defeats the whole purpose. So I wasn't sure if I really wanted a ball, like a yarn ball thing. So this has always sounded like the best thing for me, but I have always seen those that are not turning, that it's just a dowel like planted on a piece of wood and it doesn't spin, which I'm not too sure about because then you need to pull quite hard on the yarn and then you risk just tipping it over. And it's just a problem that has been in my knitting life since forever, and suddenly it got solved and I didn't even have to pay for it, and I'm so grateful. Anyway, this is awesome. I really like it, and it's super cute also. There is also another version with a monster leaf and one with a heart shape. It's just great, and she ships internationally, except to the US. I'm sorry, you know why, but yeah, unfortunately she doesn't ship to the US, and it's just great. I really recommend this thing because it's awesome. And it's so funny because now, of course my boyfriend knows about this. So we went climbing during the weekend and I took my knitting with me, and every time he saw my ball of yarn roll on the ground, he was just laughing and he said, you should have taken your new unwinder with you, right? I was like, I'm not going to take it to the mountains, but he was so right. It's the pain of my existence. I'm not even kidding. It's just the balls falling on the ground is driving me crazy. At one point, I even had a friend, just a random friend. He saw my ball of yarn falling on the ground like 5-6 times, and he was like, do you want me to hold your yarn for you so that it stopped falling? And I was like, yes, please. So he was just holding my yarn and unwinding the yarn sometimes because he was just tired of seeing it fall on the ground. First world problem. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to talk about is not here. This is another swatch because when I was in the shop, so the first idea was this mitten pattern that we could do collab together. And I was expecting this to be the only thing we would talk about, but then Sandy was like, are you interested in giving workshops, like knitting workshops? And I was like, yes, why not? And she asked if I would agree to give first a workshop for knitting your first sweater. And then she said, but you would need to knit a sample of the sweater we're going to do in the workshop before the workshop, and even before that, because I would need to advertise for the workshop. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then she said, you need to pick a yarn. So we went again in the 10 huge boxes of yarn so that I could pick a yarn. No, first we picked a pattern. So since I don't have any beginner-friendly sweater pattern, we went on Drop's website and we selected something that would have kind of a big gauge so that it would be faster to do, and also that would be in the round, so no drop shoulder, so that you don't have to pick up stitches. So it was between a round yoke and a raglan, and we found a raglan pattern at a 17 stitches gauge, which is called the Cranberry Kiss. It's a free pattern on Drop's website. And so I selected yarn for this one. This is the yarn I selected. It's Drops Air in the colorway 15. And it's this very funny, like rainbowy pastel color. It's gorgeous. It's just so cute. And when I chose it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go completely out of my comfort zone, which is usually like dark and moody, intense shade and like burgundy or dark teal or stuff like that. And I thought this was the complete opposite, but then I was going through my knitted garments and I realized I either have very dark, intense colors or this type of thing, like this type of pastel summery tones. It's either one or the other. So this is not really out of my comfort zone. I actually have a lot of stuff in this type of color. And also, this is really in the same color family. I just really love this type of color. I don't know. Like pastel rainbow is my vibe. I love it. So I have 6 balls of this to do the sweater. And the idea is that I finish the yoke by Monday, so in less than a week, so that we can start advertising for the workshops. And then I need to finish the sweater by 10 days after that, so that we can continue advertising the workshop. And the workshops will start, I think, mid-October, something like that, or maybe beginning of October. I'm probably gonna have the dates here. And this is my swatch. So the sweater the beginner knitters are gonna do will be in Drops Air, and there will be kits. So it's either 6 or 7 balls, I think, which is pretty easy, and only 2 needle sizes. For a sweater, it's okay, and I'm super excited. It's awesome. I'm excited to knit the sweater and to give the workshops, actually, which is very interesting because I have been asked numerous times by my friends or by people who are interested if I was gonna give like knitting courses, workshop or stuff like that. And I have always said no, without hesitation, always absolute no. Because I know I'm a good teacher, because that's what I have always been told, but I don't particularly like teaching. I know I have patience, I know I explain things well, but I don't really like doing it. And since I discovered I have like autism and ADHD and all of that, I kind of try my best to avoid social interactions as best as I can because I realize that's how I thrive, it's by being alone. So giving workshops or courses is not exactly what I want. It's not exactly what's the best for what I want for my life right now. But when I showed up at the shop on Friday, first, the street in front of it is very wide. It's the main street of the small town, and it's just a cute street first. And then the shop is also super cute, and it's a clear space. It's brand new, so it's not like cluttered yet, I guess. But it's easy to navigate. It's airy, it's white, the lighting is good, and it just feels like a very welcoming and safe space. And I immediately felt that when I entered it. I mean, it wasn't like conscious, but I just felt at ease when I was in there. And the shop owner, Sandy, we also got along pretty well. I was feeling at ease with her. I wasn't... Because pretty often when I meet someone, especially if it's in a context like this, when we have to organize like work stuff together and do things that involve money and stuff like that, it can pretty easily become a bit... You're a bit afraid of what to say, and you don't know if this other person is going to misunderstand you or what, and you're kind of wary of everything, and it's kind of it's just a feeling with the person. And I didn't have that at all with her. I just felt at ease. It was easy to talk to her, and I wasn't afraid to say what I was thinking, and I just felt good. So when she asked if I wanted to do the workshops, I didn't even think twice, and I was like, yeah, of course. And I didn't even realize that I have always said no to this question. Since the 6-7 years I have been knitting and I've been asked this question. And it's only after the fact, when I was in the train going back home, and I was like, wait a minute, why did I say yes? And I've been thinking about it, and it's just that. The way to the shop felt welcoming, the shop in itself felt a safe space and welcoming, and the table where the workshops happen is big and there is space around, and it's just I don't know, it's just a feeling. I cannot really explain. I just felt like it was a good idea. I couldn't really tell you why more than I don't know. So I said yes. So, and more importantly, I'm super excited. I'm not dreading it. I'm not scared. I'm not stressed out. I'm just excited, which is incredible. Maybe it's gonna be, how do you say that? Un échec retentissant. But maybe it's gonna be awesome. I don't know. Anyway, this is coming and I'm super excited. I just wanted to ask you something regarding the yarn, because I have heard that this yarn peels a lot and also that it stretches out of shape pretty quickly. So if you have knit with it, like an actual garment, do you know if it really stretches out and if it's worth using it? I mean, for now it's a bit too late, but if I know in advance that people that are gonna knit with it at the workshop are gonna have to be like, either make it crop or just be super careful because it's gonna stretch out, or just if they can know beforehand that it's gonna peel, it's just gonna be better. So if you have any information, if you have experience with this yarn, I would love to know how you feel about it as a garment. Last thing about all of this, where is it? I lost it. This is also something I picked up there, because after we finished discussing my hair again, discussing the sweater, she was like, can you knit socks? And I said, yes, of course. Could you give workshops about knitting your first socks? I was like, yes, of course. So I had to pick up some yarn to knit a sock sample. So I picked up the same, it's a Drops Fiesta. And I'm gonna make a DK weight vanilla socks. I'm gonna do very easy, simple, like a short row heel thing, top down, the easiest sock ever. And we're gonna have the workshops in December. It's just so many fun things happening. I'm just so excited. Anyway, so if you are around here, I doubt there is any beginner watching this channel because I'm really not targeting beginners. And if you are a beginner and watching this, I'm so sorry. I guess you don't understand half of what I talk about when I talk about my designs. But I'm happy you're here anyway. And if you are near me, like near Lausanne, Yverdon, just the Canton de Vaud, around here, the French-speaking part of Switzerland, feel free to talk about the workshops around you. If you know anyone that would be interested in learning how to knit a sweater or socks, the workshops will be happening at the shop in Yverdon. And I'm super excited. It's going to be so fun. And if you're just on the hunt for yarns around Yverdon, this new shop, this brand new shop just opened, and it's super cute. And it just feels like a nice space to be in. Yes. So that's all I have to say. Yes, that's all I have to say. This episode is super long. I'm so sorry. I mean, I'm not sorry to you because I know you love long episodes, but I'm sorry to editing Maya. I hope you will forgive me. So, thank you so much for watching. Next week, I think I'm gonna do... No, not I think. I am definitely gonna do this fall knitting plans video that I said I was gonna do this week, but it didn't happen because so many things happened. But the fall... No, what did I just say? The fall pattern roundup, not the fall knitting plans. Yeah. The fall pattern roundup video is coming next week. It's gonna be only size inclusive patterns and from small designers, so most likely you're gonna hear about stuff you have never heard about. Again, if you have pattern ideas, you can drop them below. I already got a lot of comments on the last video, but feel free to add some because you never have enough inspiration. So this is coming next week and I'm super excited. And yes, I have a lot of knitting to do, so I'm just gonna leave you there. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any future content from me. And yeah, thank you for being here, thank you for watching, thank you for your comments, thank you for your likes, thank you for everything. I love you. Happy knitting. Bye.